And I'm Jeanne Francine. We're going to go to our first 2-minute commercial break of the hour. But when we come back, taking a deep dive into the psychology surrounding the suspected shooter, we'll be joined by Dr. Carol Lieberman when we come back in just 2 quick minutes. Welcome back to Live Now from Fox. Ryan Ruth, the man suspected of hiding for nearly 12 hours in an apparent attempt to assassinate Donald Trump at his Florida golf course, was charged with 2 gun-related crimes on Monday. This a day after authorities say he was spotted in the bushes with a rifle as the former U.S. president played nearby. A lot of questions this morning surrounding the psychology of the suspected shooter, and joining us live to further discuss is Dr. Carol Lieberman, forensic psychiatrist and expert witness. Dr. Lieberman, good morning. Always a pleasure speaking with you here on Live Now.
Good morning.
So unfortunately, Dr. Lieberman, it seems like these discussions are becoming more and more common. We've seen this recently with the 2024 election. We've seen it at movie theaters. We see it at schools. I would love to know your first thoughts when you heard about this second assassination attempt against former President Trump.
Well, first of all, the more assassination attempts there are, the more likelihood there is of copycat. I mean, everyone heard about the first attempt, and in a sense, that created a challenge to other people to do that. Now, Ryan Ruth is a very interesting character. I would love to be, I would love to be the expert witness on this case because his mind is rather complex. He's not like the typical psychopathic, or sociopathic killer. He was not violent. People who have neighbors and so on, people who have been interviewed talk about how nice he was. But he's an interesting man. He's part Walter Mitty, who was a hero in his daydreams, part a wannabe Forrest Gump, who ends up in situations effortlessly, that makes him famous. He's also a part Don Quixote, tilting at windmills. So this is a man who wants to put himself in the center of history. He has done in his life. He has put himself in places, notably, of course, Ukraine, where he went there to fight or to try to fight. But then he says they thought he was too old and he didn't have any experience fighting and so on. But then he tried recruiting people to come fight. And it was a sincere effort. He wrote a book, hundreds of pages for a book about why people should come and help Ukraine and stuff. So he has, he's authentic in some of his wishes. But the bottom line is, I think he was running out of time. He's 58, and he was running out of money. And this was his last ditch effort to have some historical significance by shooting the president or the former president.
I appreciate that analysis, Dr. Lieberman. And to think that someone would not like someone so much that they would be on a stakeout for about 12 hours waiting for that person to arrive to potentially do the worst. I mean, what does the mind frame hold for that type of anger towards someone? Because, nevertheless, there are people we don't like out here every day, right? But we're not waiting out and staking out to shoot and kill and potentially murder them. I would just love to know the science surrounding this as we look into the psychology, Dr. Lieberman.
Well, a lot of that doesn't make sense. I mean, surely he would have known that Trump would not be playing golf in the dark. And he got there at around 1 o'clock in the morning and, was captured 12 hours later. So that doesn't make any sense. I mean, it didn't really take that long to set up his GoPro. The GoPro also, that's a clue as far as his narcissism, how he wanted, this was the point, he wanted everyone to see him. I think actually that he is somewhat relieved. I don't know that he voted for Trump in 2016. He apparently was disappointed that Trump didn't do something or did do something when he was president. Of course, there is it's easy for people who are mentally unbalanced to be swayed by some of what we hear in the news. But I think he was relieved in the end that he didn't, and that he was caught before he actually killed Trump, because now he can still have a pick a place of historical significance. He was the one who, made this attempt and so on. And yet he doesn't have to, and yet he didn't have to kill a person. He really seems in a lot of ways, I mean, in Hawaii, for example, he was building housing, very inexpensive housing for the poor. He really has some altruistic parts to himself. There's evidence. It's not like just he's pretending to like people or to want to help people, or he does. That is a big part of him. So it doesn't really fit with someone who would kill somebody, even if he didn't agree with his politics. So it has to be a real deep dive to go into. For example, to go into his childhood, to go into he was divorced and he has some adult sons. And I mean, one has to go into his whole life to see how he became who he is.
Dr. Lieberman, I want to get your thoughts about the fear that these type of incidents spark across the globe. We know former President Trump does have a town hall tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern time with Sarah Huckabee Sanders out of Arkansas. And then, we're looking ahead to a Trump campaign rally tomorrow. For those that are afraid and are fearful, what words could you share with them to give them peace of mind during these tense and chaotic times?
Well, I would hope, first of all, that he is provided with more security. I mean, this is kind of getting ridiculous. It's like almost asking for it. He needs to have more security. As for people I don't think that the general public, perhaps it will make some people more fearful of actually going to these rallies because of the fear of someone shooting. On the other hand, there are people who are more motivated to go because they want to show Trump support after what he's been through. It is, I guess also if you're talking about like the school shootings and just the general increase in violence, everybody has to, take care of their own nest, take care of their own family in terms of making it, especially with children, is making it that they don't grow up with, that any kind of psychological problems. It's easier really to think of it that way, that to be on the lookout for any kind of psychological problems and to get the person help right away. Most of these people, there is a psychological component to it, a mental illness component. If not, a mental illness, a psychotic mental illness, and we don't know yet for Ryan Ruth, but certainly psychological problems, one can say. And so if everybody sort of took care of their own family and made sure that if they saw any kind of psychological problems in their children and their spouse, that they got them help right away.
Dr. Lieberman, always a pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us bright and early this Tuesday morning. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.